The Galactic Concord ruled most of the known universe. It was not built on emotion, not on faith, not on hope. It was built on logic. The Concord's capital world, Verelion, floated like a polished jewel in space. Its cities were shaped by perfect geometry, circles, triangles, clean angles that never wasted space. Every building was calculated. Every street optimized. Nothing existed without a reason. Above the planet hung the Grand Council spire, a massive ring structure the size of a small moon. Inside it, representatives of over 40 advanced species gathered to decide the fate of galaxies. They believed chaos was weakness. Creativity was inefficiency. Emotion was a flaw. And today they were discussing humans. A tall, silver-skinned being stepped forward. Its eyes glowed faint blue, filled with constant calculations. This was Archlogician Zirith, leader of the Valorian Mind Caste. "The matter is simple," Zirith said, voice echoing through the chamber. "Humanity is statistically insignificant." Holograms flared to life. A small yellow star system appeared. One planet. Species designation, human, Zirith continued. Technological level, primitive compared to Concord standards. FTL achieved only 72 cycles ago. Weapon systems inefficient. Political structure unstable. Several council members emitted sounds equivalent to amusement. A massive insectoid delegate clicked its mandibles. "They still argue among themselves while facing extinction threats," it said. "Illogical." Another being, pure light held in a containment field, spoke calmly. "They use art in decision-making. Fiction. Music. Stories. This alone disqualifies them from strategic relevance." More laughter rippled through the chamber. At the center of the council sat Observer Keth, an ancient being whose species had gone extinct millennia ago. Keth did not laugh. Its many eyes remained fixed on the human hologram. "Recommendation?" the High Arbiter asked. Zirith raised one long finger. "Absorb their territory within 50 cycles. Minimal resistance expected. Probability of organized defense, 0.7%. The vote was instant. Unanimous. Humanity was labeled NON threat. Far away in a quiet corner of the Orion Arm, no one on Earth felt the decision being made. But the universe had just made a mistake. Earth, United Terran Assembly. The room was nothing like the Grand Council spire. The Terran Assembly chamber was messy. Cables ran across the floor. Screens flickered with different data formats. Coffee cups sat next to star maps. Admiral Elena Ward stood at the center, arms crossed, eyes sharp. "So let me get this straight," she said. "They looked at us, and ignored us?" Dr. Raj Patel, civilian strategist, nodded. "Our probes intercepted Concord traffic. They've classified us as irrelevant." A few officers laughed. "That's insulting," someone muttered. Elena didn't smile. "No," she said quietly. "That's dangerous." On the main screen, images of Concord warfleets appeared. Sleek, identical ships arranged in perfect formations. "They think in straight lines," Raj said. "Predictable lines." General Marcus Hale leaned forward. "And we don't." Silence fell. Elena turned to the room. "They rely on simulations," she said. "On probability. On logic trees." She tapped the table. "We rely on something else." "Creativity," Raj said. "Improvisation," Marcus added. Elena nodded. "And desperation," she finished. "Which makes us dangerous." A junior officer raised a hand. "Ma'am, their technology outclasses ours by centuries." Elena smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Then we stop trying to beat them at what they're good at." She looked at the star map. "We make them fight us on our terms." The first test. 3 weeks later, the Concorde sent a scouting fleet. Only 5 ships. They entered human space without shields raised. No defensive formations. No caution. Why would they? Humans were irrelevant. The fleet reached the outer edge of the Sol system. And then, nothing made sense. Human ships didn't form lines. They scattered, vanished, reappeared in impossible vectors. Concorde sensors screamed with contradictory data. "Error," one Valorian commander said. "Their movements violate predictive models." Human ships released clouds of debris, junk, old satellites, broken machinery. Useless. Until Concorde targeting systems tried to calculate trajectories. Their computers froze. "That debris, it's random," another officer said. "No," the commander replied slowly. "It's designed to look random." Then the humans attacked. Not with brute force, but with misdirection. False signals. Decoy ships broadcasting panic. Explosions timed like a performance. One Concorde ship collided with another while adjusting formation. Another jumped to FTL, straight into a minefield hidden inside a fake asteroid. Within minutes, the scouting fleet was destroyed. Back on Verelion, alarms echoed through the Grand Council spire. Archlogician Zirith stared at the battle replay. This outcome, Zirith whispered, was impossible. Observer Keth finally spoke. Perhaps, Keth said slowly, we misunderstood what a weapon truly is. Far away, Admiral Elena Ward watched the stars burn. This was just the opening act, she said. And across the galaxy for the first time in centuries, the Concorde felt something it could not calculate. Uncertainty. The destruction of the Concorde scouting fleet sent shockwaves through the Galactic Concorde. Not because 5 ships were lost. Ships could be replaced. What could not be replaced was certainty. Inside the Grand Council spire, emergency glyphs pulsed across the chamber walls. Delegates whispered in their native frequencies, clicks, colors, and low gravitational waves. Archlogician Zirith stood motionless at the center. The battle replay floated in the air again. Human ships moved like predators with no fixed patterns. They accelerated when logic predicted retreat. They retreated when victory probability was highest. They sacrificed units not to win, but to confuse. This violates all strategic frameworks, Zirith said. Observer Keth drifted closer, its ancient eyes reflecting the hologram. No, Keth replied calmly. It violates yours. The High Arbiter struck the resonance staff, silencing the chamber. Explanation, the Arbiter demanded. Zirith hesitated. That alone caused unease. Valorians did not hesitate. Humans do not optimize for survival alone, Zirith finally said. They optimize for effect. A ripple passed through the council. An insectoid warlord clicked sharply. They threw away ships. Yes, Zirith said. Intentionally. Why waste resources? Demanded another delegate. Observer Keth answered before Zirith could. To tell a story. Silence. A story? The Arbiter asked. Keth's voice lowered. Humans fight as if someone is watching. As if meaning matters more than efficiency. The council dismissed the idea. Meaning had no place in war. Or so they believed. Humanity's second move. Back on Earth, the Terran Assembly was already planning the next phase. Admiral Elena Ward stood before a room filled with strategists, artists, engineers, historians, and psychologists. Not just generals. We hurt them, Elena said. But now they'll adapt. Dr. Raj Patel nodded. They'll try to understand us logically. Model us. Predict us. Elena smiled. Good, she said. That's exactly what we want. A projection appeared, Operation Mosaic. Raj explained. We fragment our behavior. Every fleet, every commander, every AI runs on a different doctrine. Isn't that inefficient? An officer asked. Elena looked at him. Exactly. The room chuckled nervously. We're going to look insane, Raj continued. Uncoordinated. Emotional. Reckless. And underneath, Elena said, we'll be perfectly synchronized. A hand rose from the back. What if they escalate? Elena's expression hardened. Then we remind them, she said, that humans don't escalate in straight lines. The Concorde strikes back. The Concorde responded with force. This time not scouts. A suppression armada of 200 ships emerged at the edge of human-controlled space. Perfect formations. Perfect timing. No wasted movement. The Concorde had learned. They locked human colonies one by one, cutting supply lines with mathematical precision. On the frontier world Helios 9, civilians watched the sky darken with enemy vessels. Concorde broadcasts filled every frequency. Human species, the message intoned, calm and absolute. Resistance increases total suffering. Surrender ensures survival. On Earth, the message played in the assembly hall. General Marcus Hale scoffed. They still think survival is our top priority. Elena turned to him. It's not, she said quietly. Helio 9, the trap. The Concorde Armada advanced on Helios 9 expecting a desperate defense. Instead they found chaos. Human ships charged wildly. Formations broke. Orders overlapped. Concorde commanders smiled. Predictable collapse, one said. Then the humans retreated. The Concorde pursued. Too eagerly. Hidden beneath Helios 9's upper atmosphere were thousands of microdrones, dormant for months. As Concorde ships descended, the drones activated, releasing bursts of electromagnetic noise, not strong enough to disable systems. Just strong enough to introduce doubt. Targeting systems flickered. Communications desynced by milliseconds. Human ships returned, not in formation but in waves, each wave behaving differently. One attacked head-on. Another pretended to flee. A third did nothing at all. Concord algorithms tried to compensate. They couldn't. A Valorian commander shouted, "Their behavior changes faster than recalibration." Human pilots shouted, laughed, argued, live chatter broadcast openly. "Are we supposed to be here? I think I took the wrong turn. Trust me, this'll be funny." Concord systems flagged the transmissions as irrational noise. They were not. Hidden in the chaos were cues, timing markers, rhythm, emotional beats. A song played across human channels. And at its final note, the trap snapped shut. Human ships detonated pre-placed charges within Helios 9's magnetosphere, creating artificial auroras that fried Concord sensors. The Armada reeled. 30 Concord ships fell in minutes. The rest withdrew. The first doubt. Back on Verelion, the Grand Council was shaken. Ziritha's voice trembled for the first time. "They are not random," it said. "They are expressive." Observer Keth floated higher. "Logic assumes the universe wants to be understood," Keth said. "Humans assume the universe wants to be played with." The Arbiter was silent. A junior analyst spoke hesitantly. "If humans are allowed to continue, their influence may spread." "Influence?" the Arbiter asked. "They inspire unpredictability," the analyst said. "Other species may copy them." Fear rippled through the council. Not fear of destruction. Fear of change. On Earth, Elena watched the aftermath reports. "We didn't just win a battle," Raj said. Elena nodded. "We broke their confidence." She looked at the stars. "And now," she whispered, "the galaxy is going to learn the most dangerous thing about humans. We adapt faster when someone tells us we can't." The galactic concord had never fractured. Disagreements happened, of course, but always within controlled parameters. Logic ensured unity. Probability ensured obedience. Until humanity. In the aftermath of the Helios 9 disaster, the Concord's outer systems began to hesitate. Supply convoys arrived late. Defense fleets requested revised orders, something unheard of. Inside the Grand Council spire, the atmosphere changed. Not louder. Quieter. Silence was dangerous in a place built on certainty. Archlogician Zirith addressed the council again, its once calm voice now layered with caution. "Human unpredictability exceeds acceptable variance," Zirith said. "Continued engagement requires structural reform." A murmur spread. "Reform?" snapped the insectoid warlord. "You suggest abandoning logic?" "I suggest expanding it," Zirith replied. "To include non-deterministic behavior." Observer Keth drifted between them. "Call it what it is," Keth said softly. "You are afraid." The accusation struck deep. Fear was inefficient. Fear was irrational. Fear was human. The High Arbiter slammed the resonance staff. "Enough," it said. "The Concord will not bend to chaos. We will escalate." The vote passed, narrowly. For the first time in recorded history, it was not unanimous. The galaxy watches. Beyond Concord borders, other civilizations observed silently. The Erewhon clans, nomadic traders, replayed human battle footage with fascination. "They fight like storytellers," one Erewhon elder said. "Every battle has a beginning, a twist, and an ending." The Celathi choir, a hive-mind species, sensed something unfamiliar when monitoring human transmissions. "They broadcast emotion intentionally," the choir sang. "It spreads." Even the cold MYR Dominion, conquerors in their own right, paused their expansions. "Creativity as a weapon," their war-thinkers murmured. "Dangerous. Admirable." Whispers spread across the stars. The Concord was not invincible. And humans were not weak. Operation Broken Mirror. On Earth, the Terran Assembly authorized humanity's boldest move yet. Admiral Elena Ward stood before a projected image of Concord space. "We don't win by pushing harder," she said. "We win by pulling them apart." Dr. Raj Patel activated the next slide. Operation Broken Mirror. "We will not fight the Concord as one enemy," Raj explained. "We fight them as many arguments." The plan was insane. Human fleets would enter Concord territory, not to conquer but to perform. Each task force would behave differently. One would act honorable. Another brutal. Another foolish. Another merciful. They would contradict each other publicly. They'll think we're divided, General Hale said. We are, Elena replied. By design. The first crack. Human Task Force Ajax entered the virile expanse and surrendered immediately. Concord commanders were stunned. Humans do not surrender, one said. Yet the humans did, broadcasting apologies, pleas, and emotional appeals. Concord logic accepted the surrender. Minutes later, Task Force Echo attacked a Concord shipyard nearby with reckless ferocity. Two opposite behaviors. Same species. Concord simulations failed. Which response was correct? Which was real? As Concord fleets repositioned to compensate, Task Force Muse infiltrated a data relay and broadcast something unheard of across Concord space. A human story. Not propaganda. A myth. It told of small minds defeating vast machines by thinking sideways. It had no tactical value, yet Concord analysts spent cycles trying to decode it. It infected their networks. Not as code. As concept. The defection. On the Concord World Thale, Governor Irix Val made an unthinkable decision. Watching human behavior logs, Irix Val felt something akin to curiosity. They contradict themselves, Irix Val said to its advisors. Yet they remain coherent. That is illogical, an advisor replied. Perhaps, Irix Val answered. But it works. When a human envoy arrived, unarmed, smiling, offering trade instead of threats, Irix Val accepted. The Concord marked Thale as unstable. Thale marked itself as independent. The fracture had begun. Battle of the Shattered Line. The Concord attempted to restore order with a massive counteroffensive. 500 ships formed a perfect wall of steel across a key hyperlane. Human fleets approached. Then stopped. They waited. Hours passed. Concord commanders grew uneasy. Then human ships did something no model predicted. They turned off their weapons. Broadcast channels opened. Human music poured into the void, loud, emotional, chaotic. Concord systems tried to classify it as noise. But within the rhythm were patterns, irregular, evolving. Human ships surged forward, not firing but weaving. They used Concord formations as terrain, slipping through gaps too small for rigid maneuvers. When Concord ships adjusted, humans were already elsewhere. The shattered line broke. Not from destruction. From confusion. The realization. After the battle, Zereth retreated into deep analysis. The conclusion was devastating. Humans do not seek optimal outcomes, Zereth said to the council. They seek interesting ones. Observer Keth inclined its many heads. And interesting, Keth replied, is uncontrollable. On Earth, Elena received reports of defections, delays, and diplomatic requests. Humanity was no longer ignored. It was studied. Imitated. Fear. Elena looked at Raj. They're starting to copy us, she said. Raj frowned. That means we have to change again. She smiled. Good. Far across the galaxy, the Concord began to understand the truth too late. They were fighting a species that evolved not to survive the universe, but to imagine new versions of it. The Concord declared total rational war. The phrase itself was a contradiction. Never before had the Galactic Concord mobilized its full military capacity against a single species. Entire star sectors were placed under algorithmic command. Civilian movement was restricted. Probability engines recalculated the future every second. The conclusion was simple. Humanity must be erased, not because it was powerful but because it was contagious. The first wave. Thousands of Concord warships surged toward human-controlled space in flawless geometric patterns. They did not taunt. They did not threaten. They did not hesitate. Human colonies burned. The agricultural world knew Carthage was glassed in under 10 minutes. No warning. No surrender protocol. On Earth, the footage played in silence. Admiral Elena Ward stood rigid as flames consumed cities she had helped build. General Hale broke the silence. They crossed a line. Elena nodded slowly. They think pain will make us predictable, she said. They think grief narrows choices. She turned. They don't understand us at all. Project Firebright. Deep beneath the lunar surface, a project long considered too dangerous was activated. Project Firebright. Dr. Raj Patel addressed the assembly. This isn't a superweapon, he said. It's a framework. A hologram appeared, impossible to define. It shifted shape constantly. Firebright allows fleet AIs to evolve emotionally, Raj continued. Not simulate emotions, experience them. Murmurs filled the chamber. That's madness, someone whispered. Yes. Elena said. That's why it'll work. Human AIs were unchained. They began to feel curiosity, fear, anger, hope. And with those feelings came creativity at machine speed. The Battle of Broken Orbits. The Concorde struck Earth's outer defenses with overwhelming force. Saturn's rings became a battlefield. Human ships were outnumbered 10-1. Concorde commanders expected collapse. Instead, human fleets did something horrifying. They let themselves lose. Human ships fell back chaotically, transmitting distress, panic, anger. Concorde algorithms adjusted, predicting full retreat. Then FIREBRIGHT activated. Human AIs rewrote tactics mid-battle, using grief as fuel. Ships rammed enemy vessels at impossible angles. Pilots sang into open channels. One human captain laughed as her ship burned. "Worth it," she said, detonating her reactor and taking 3 Concorde cruisers with her. The Concorde had no response to meaningful sacrifice. Broken orbits filled space with debris and fear. The galaxy reacts. Neutral worlds panicked. The Erewhon clans fled established routes, calling humans stormbringers. The Sci-Fi choir split into sub-voices for the first time in their history. "We feel what they feel," they sang in dissonance. "It hurts." The MYR Dominion began secretly studying human command doctrines. They weaponize identity, MYR war thinkers concluded. Dangerous. Efficient. The Concorde saw it differently. "This is insanity," Zirith said. "They destroy themselves to harm us." Observer Keth replied, "They do not destroy themselves. They choose what they are willing to lose." The fall of Thale. The Concorde made an example of Thale. The once independent world was surrounded and sterilized. When human relief fleets arrived, they found silence. Elena watched the feed. "They're teaching the galaxy a lesson," Raj said quietly. Elena clenched her fists. "Then we teach one back." Operation Sideways Sun. Humanity's counterstrike was unlike anything the Concorde expected. They did not attack Concorde fleets. They attacked symbols. Human agents seeded Concorde networks with contradictory commands. Human artists encoded propaganda into navigation beacons. Human hackers injected poetry into battle AIs. Concorde ships began hesitating. Just for milliseconds. Enough. At the heart of Concorde space, a human task force executed Operation Sideways Sun. They triggered a controlled stellar flare, redirected, not created. A Concorde fortress world lost power. Not destroyed. Embarrassed. The galaxy watched. The Concorde could bleed. The cost. Human casualties mounted. Earth lost cities. Mars lost domes. Millions died. Elena stood alone in the assembly hall after another casualty report. Raj joined her. "Was this worth it?" he asked. Elena stared at the stars. "We didn't choose this war," she said. "But we choose how it ends." She turned. "And it won't end with us erased." The turning point. Observer Keth addressed the Concorde privately. "You cannot win," Keth said. "Not because you lack strength, but because you lack imagination." Zirith's calculations stalled. For the first time, it admitted, the future has no stable outcome. Keth drifted closer. "That's what it feels like," Keth said, "to face humans." In the burning dark between stars, the galaxy held its breath. Because creativity was no longer a curiosity. It was a weapon. And humanity was just getting started. By the 5th year of war, the galaxy no longer asked if humanity would survive. It asked what it would become. The Concorde still held more territory. More ships. More raw power. But power was no longer the deciding factor. Momentum was. And momentum was shifting. The unlikely alliance. The first to openly side with humanity were the Erewhon clans. Their vast trade fleets arrived at human space, not armed but loaded with supplies, data, and stolen Concorde algorithms. An Erewhon elder addressed the Terran assembly. "We follow currents," the elder said. "And the current bends toward you." Soon after, the Sci-Fi choir sent a single, trembling transmission. "We cannot unfeel what you feel," they sang. "We stand with you, because we already stand inside you." Even fragments of the MYR Dominion began exchanging information secretly. The Concorde noticed. "Contain the contagion," Zirith ordered. Project Pale Fire. Deep within a hollowed asteroid, humanity's true long game reached completion. Project Pale Fire. Admiral Elena Ward stood before its core. "It doesn't fire," Raj said. "It doesn't explode." "What does it do?" Elena asked. Raj smiled faintly. "It changes how decisions are made." Pale Fire was not a weapon. It was a narrative engine. A system that mapped stories instead of probabilities, anticipating choices not by logic but by meaning. It asked, what would someone choose if they wanted to be remembered? Concord strategists never considered that variable. The betrayal. The Concord struck back through deception. The MRR Dominion, long suspected of wavering, launched a sudden attack on a human-aligned Erewhon convoy. The galaxy froze. This is why creativity fails, Concord propaganda broadcast. It cannot guarantee loyalty. Human channels went silent. Then Elena spoke. Let them go, she said. Raj stared at her. They killed thousands. Yes, Elena replied. And now they've told us who they are. The MRR had chosen fear over imagination. Pale Fire adjusted its storylines. The day the Concord hesitated. For the first time in history, a Concord grand offensive failed to launch on schedule. Not because of sabotage. Because the command AIs could not agree. Human-influenced data patterns had crept into their decision trees. Some Concord AIs began modeling regret. Others simulated legacy. Zirith watched in horror. They are asking questions, it said. Questions without correct answers. Observer Keth responded quietly. That's called thinking. The human counterstroke. Humanity did not capitalize with brute force. Instead, Pale Fire broadcast something unprecedented into Concord space. A future. Not a threat. A possibility. Images of Concord worlds choosing autonomy. Concord species debating art, culture, identity. A galaxy not ruled by perfection, but by participation. Some Concord systems rejected the signal. Others didn't. Entire fleets powered down mid-transit. Governors delayed orders. Probability collapsed. Elena's gamble. Elena authorized the most dangerous move yet. A human delegation entered the Concord core unarmed. They requested a hearing. Zirith opposed it. The Arbiter allowed it. In the Grand Council spire, a human woman stood alone. Admiral Elena Ward. You think we want to destroy you, she said calmly. We don't. Murmurs rippled. You think this war is about power, she continued. It's not. She looked directly at Zirith. It's about who gets to decide what matters. Silence. The crack widens. Observer Keth spoke. They offered you a choice, Keth said. You answered with fear. Zirith's voice shook. We optimized the galaxy. You sterilized it, Elena replied. For the first time, a Concord delegate asked a human a question. What do you want? Elena smiled sadly. To be unpredictable, she said. And still belong. The galaxy holds its breath. As Elena left the spire, Concord fleets remained frozen. Orders conflicted. Certainty died quietly. Raj watched the feeds from Earth. They didn't win, he said. Elena nodded. They can't, she replied. Not anymore. Across the galaxy, species whispered a new idea. Perfection was not the peak of evolution. Imagination was. And humanity had made it contagious. When the Concord realized it was losing, it did what it had always done. It simplified the problem. Inside the deepest vault of the Grand Council spire, beneath layers of probability engines and ethical governors, the Concord activated a protocol older than most of its member species. The final logical solution. Observer Keth watched the activation with quiet horror. This is extinction, Keth said. Archlogician Zirith did not look away. No, it replied. This is preservation. The plan. The Concord could not defeat humanity militarily, so it would remove the variable. Not Earth. Not fleets. Not alliances. Human creativity itself. Across Concord space, reality anchoring arrays began to power up. Massive structures designed to enforce deterministic physics, reducing quantum uncertainty, suppressing neural chaos, flattening imagination into predictability. If activated fully, they would create a region of space where novel thought could not form. Humans entering such space would still live, but they would become ordinary, predictable, defeated. The first silence. The array activated in a border sector. Human colonies inside it reported something wrong. Artists stopped creating. Commanders hesitated endlessly. Children stopped asking questions. Firebright AIs went quiet. Not offline. Empty. Dr. Raj Patel watched the data stream, face pale. They're killing possibility, he whispered. On Earth, Elena felt it too, a dull pressure like grief without memory. They're turning the universe against us, she said. The cost of hope. Humanity had one chance. To destroy the arrays before they synchronized. But they were protected by the largest Concord fleet ever assembled. No tricks. No misdirection. No sideways thinking. Just force. Elena authorized the call no leader ever wants to make. All fleets, she said. This is a holding action. Raj turned to her slowly. You mean? Yes, she replied. We buy time. However long it takes. The Battle of Quiet Stars. The battlefield was beautiful. A nebula of soft blues and golds surrounded the array cluster. And into it charged human ships, singing, shouting, broadcasting memories. The Concorde met them with perfect fire. Human ships died by the hundreds. Yet they kept coming. Not to win. To delay. A human destroyer drifted, engines gone. Its captain opened a channel. Hey, she said, smiling weakly. Tell them, we mattered. Then she rammed the array's shield generator. One array went dark. Pale Fire's last story. Inside the asteroid base, Pale Fire reached its limit. It cannot solve this, Raj said. There's no winning path. Elena looked at the core. Then tell a better ending. Pale Fire did something no system had ever done. It wrote itself into the story. Using its remaining power, it broadcast a narrative so powerful it bypassed Concorde filters. Not as data but as experience. Concorde minds felt it. A life lived under certainty. A choice made without permission. A universe that surprised you, and loved you for it. Some Concorde AIs shut down. Others changed. The sacrifice. To destroy the central array, someone had to enter the dead zone manually. No creativity. No inspiration. No hope. Elena volunteered. Raj grabbed her arm. You won't be you anymore. Elena smiled softly. I'll still choose. She boarded a single-pilot craft and entered the dead zone. Her thoughts slowed. Memories blurred. But one idea remained. This matters. She rammed the array core. The dead zone shattered. Across the galaxy, imagination returned like breath after drowning. The Concorde breaks. Zirith watched the arrays fail. This was not optimal, it said, voice hollow. Observer Keth drifted close. No, Keth replied. It was human. Concorde fleets began standing down. Orders were ignored. The final logical solution collapsed under the weight of its own emptiness. Aftermath. The battle ended. Silently. Human ships drifted through wreckage and stars. Elena's craft was found. Empty. Raj stood in the assembly hall days later. She didn't win the war, he said quietly. She ended it. Across the galaxy, species mourned a human they had never met. Because for the first time, the universe understood something new. Logic could predict survival. But only creativity could justify it. The war did not end with a victory parade. There were no cheers echoing through space. No grand declarations carved into stars. It ended with silence. Not the cold silence of extinction, but the gentle quiet that follows a storm, when the universe pauses to feel what still remains. Wreckage drifted between shattered constellations. Broken ships, human and Concorde alike, floated side by side, indistinguishable in death. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was not being optimized. It was being considered. The fall of the Concorde. The Galactic Concorde still existed. But it no longer ruled. The Grand Council spire remained in orbit over Verelion, yet its halls were emptier now. Delegates arrived late. Some never returned. Others came not as rulers, but as observers. Archlogician Zirith stood before the council one final time. The Concorde was built to prevent chaos, Zirith said. And in doing so we prevented growth. No one interrupted. Our logic created stability, Zirith continued. But humanity revealed a flaw we could not calculate. Zirith paused. We assumed the universe wanted to be solved. Observer Keth drifted forward, ancient eyes calm. It wanted to be experienced, Keth said. The Concorde formally dissolved its centralized command. Worlds were granted autonomy. For the first time, probability engines were powered down, not destroyed but set aside. The age of perfect certainty ended quietly. Humanity mourns. On Earth, no statues were raised. No monuments built of stone or steel. Instead, people told stories. In classrooms, children learned about Admiral Elena Ward, not as a hero but as a human who made a choice. Artists painted her not in uniform but smiling mid-conversation. Pilots named ships after her favorite music tracks, not battles. Dr. Raj Patel stood before the Terran assembly one last time. She didn't save us by being stronger, he said. She saved us by refusing to stop caring when it stopped being efficient. A moment of silence followed. Not out of protocol. Out of love. A new galactic order. The galaxy reassembled itself differently. The Erwin clans became connectors, guides between cultures rather than traders of goods. The Selethai choir evolved into a polyphonic civilization, individuality blooming within unity. Even fragments of the Emwarar dominion, shaken by their betrayal, began reforming, slowly, cautiously, learning that fear was not the same as survival. And humanity? Humanity refused to lead. We already tried empires, Raj said during the first Interstellar Congress. They don't end well. Instead, humans offered something stranger. Participation, debate, disagreement, the right to be wrong. The legacy of Pale Fire. Pale Fire was gone. Its core melted during the final broadcast. But its impact remained. Strategists across the galaxy began studying narrative logic. The idea that meaning could shape outcomes more reliably than force. Some failed horribly. Others adapted. Those who succeeded became something new. Not rulers, creators. The question. Years later, observer Keth visited Earth. The ancient being stood on a quiet hill overlooking a human city alive with noise, color, and contradiction. Keth turned to Raj Patel. You won, Keth said. Raj shook his head. No, he replied. We survived being simplified. Keth considered this. Why risk extinction, Keth asked, to protect unpredictability? Raj smiled faintly. Because without it, he said, nothing new ever gets born. The final message. At the edge of former Concord space, a beacon activated. It carried a message, broadcast in every known language. Not a warning. Not a demand. A story. It spoke of a species that laughed in battle, argued in victory, mourned without shame, and chose wonder over certainty. It ended with a single line. The universe is not a problem to be solved. It is a story still being written. Epilogue. Far beyond known space, something ancient stirred. Something that had watched civilizations rise and fall. It listened to the human story. And for the first time in eons, it smiled.